My name's Sally Ingham. I'm New Business Director within Homes. New business is it's a really broad role, but essentially it's taking new initiatives and taking them through to market and seeing the rollout of whether that's a new company, a new project, or a new brand. I went to a local comprehensive school. My GCSEs, my subjects were more driven by what I was good at and what I was interested in rather than anything academically. Then I went to university, studied in Birmingham and chose history as a university degree. I think, at that point in my mind, it was more around, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I just chose a subject that I thought it was interesting. When I graduated, I got a job working down in London and I worked for a surveying company in the city. So it was quite extreme, sort of going from university straight into the City of London and working for a surveying firm there. I got a job as a researcher. They did a lot of research around office take-up market in the city, and I did a job researching that and doing reports around demand and accessibility of office space in the city. I guess the written ability is a skill that you take from university, but I think university was more about a life lesson, having the opportunity to grow yourself as an individual within a relatively safe and sort of managed environment. A lot of work on the phone, speaking to agents, which was daunting, but a good confidence builder, being thrown into that environment. I stayed there for about 2 years, and then a role came up with English Partnerships. They were a government body that was brought in to pretty much take brownfield, hard to develop land and facilitate development on them. I stayed with English Partnerships for, again, probably about 2 years. I worked within their marketing team, so we worked specifically on key developments across London where we were looking to raise the profile of English Partnerships and the investment and the work they were doing into sort of, realising these big vision projects. So about 2 years there, and then I moved to work, my first experience working for a contractor developer. I think it was mainly because when I graduated, across my family, there's a few people in the family that are in property, and I got a couple of work experience placements in property, and it just sort of helped smooth that transition through and get a sort of full-time job. So a typical day is quite diverse. I think that comes with working for a small company as well. But it can be anything from looking at legals on a new project coming forward, looking at sort of regulatory information in the sort of affordable housing sector, through to branding and PR aspects coming up that we should be aware of. I think the most satisfying aspect is seeing things come to fruition. So whether it be time that you're investing in relationships that then come forward, that you get a project to look at and get into contract on a project, or the realisation of a brand or an idea. I mean, with Hug Homes, I started within that 2 years ago when it was a real concept idea. Seeing it through to being a product that's out there with people living in, and seeing their sort of reaction and response to it is really, really satisfying. I think partly of what's most challenging is what to choose to focus your efforts on. There's two aspects actually. What to choose. New business and business development is very proactive. So you've got the reactive stuff in there, but it's always about looking at where your efforts are best going to give maximum reward. So that's quite challenging around how you narrow and focus your efforts. And the other side of it is, I think when you get to a certain level, I've got a little girl at home, I'm managing work, functioning at a certain level and being available in an environment that people, particularly now with social media and remote working, where people expect you to be available all the time. There's not a clear-cut route into business development. You either come through a route where your very specific understanding of the sector grows, or you come from probably more a marketing sort of background. I started off as part of a bid team working on the procurement side for quite a large major contractor. So we were continually bidding for workload, got an understanding of the sector, worked within very, very constrained timeframes in terms of putting tenders back in for new work. So there's different routes out there, but I guess looking now, I'm quite aware that it's not one route fits all. It's not necessarily a go to university for 3 years. It could be a sort of learn as you work sort of type route. There's lots of apprenticeships out there. So yeah, I think there's multiple routes into it. So in terms of what would be useful, there's obviously professional qualifications. You can go, for me specifically, you could go down a housing specific professional qualification or through a marketing route. But I think it's more understanding your sector that you're working at and becoming an expert of knowing that sector. And I think particularly for business development, new business, so much is about a network and a contact base. And that very much comes into play around having the right social skills, being able to interact with people. And I always take the view with this, academics is a sort of, it gets you so far, but unless you can apply yourself and you can interact with people, then that's really a key fundamental to progressing up the career ladder as well. The Chartered Institute of Housing, you could also go down the RICS route, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, or through the Chartered Institute of Marketing as well. So there are really different entry-level routes in. I'm not a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing or Housing. Probably with hindsight, if I was starting over, I'd probably do, earlier in my career, I'd probably do some sort of professional qualification to become members, but not really at this point. So, I guess in the early days, I was quite overwhelmed at how male-dominated the sector was. I used to go to a lot of networking events, and I would enter the room, and it was a sea of 40 to 50-year-old men in grey suits, and who all seemed to know each other. So I just took the view, bow straight in. You're using your time to be there, make it productive, and see what you get out of it. But I think the industry is changing, and I think it's changed a lot. But I think there's a lot more that can be done to really get. And there's so much. There's lots of networking groups out there that are female focused to try and build confidence of young females coming through the industry. So yeah, I guess that was a bit of a eye opener at the start, not to be put off by. The good thing in new business is broad who you interact with. It can be speaking to lawyers, it could be dealing with housing officers, it could be dealing with design agencies and PR companies. So it's really broad in terms of interaction, which keeps it interesting. And I guess the opportunity to travel or where you want to go, I think it more depends on the size of the organisation you work with. I've worked with some large contractor developers over the years, and there's definitely scope for certainly UK travel. And even, we're sort of attending international property conferences now and that side of things. So I think there's scope to go international if you want to, depending on, which sort of inspires more. I guess what's quite proud is, my first promotion onto the operational board of management. of what was a fundamentally all-male board, and getting the opportunity to have a forum at that sort of management level as a female is quite an achievement. New business roles exist within a whole host of different sectors, and I think there's a real scope to grow a career within new business, very much focused around sort of B2B, where very prominent around relationships, but it does offer a really good broad scope across being technical to that sector and also growing the profile of a business through networks and connections. Try out as much as possible. I mean, when I was going through school, I remember at one session with a careers advisor who pretty much steered me 100% towards teaching. And I thought, what a failing that they can't offer a more broader exposure to job roles out there. So I would just, any opportunity that comes up to get yourself into a different environment, to experience it, give it a go and see where it takes you.